1. A Trial of Tranquil Life.
In the early 1990s, I was Rebecca, a girl growing up in a small village nestled in the heart of former Yugoslavia. My childhood was a tapestry of serene landscapes where rolling hills met the bright blue sky, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of wildflowers. The sun cast a golden glow over our modest home, and laughter echoed through the fields as my friends and I played until dusk. It was a world steeped in peace, where every day felt like a celebration of life. I shared a deep bond with my family. My father, John, was a compassionate surgical doctor, known for his unwavering dedication to the well-being of others. He spent long hours at the hospital, always returning home with stories of hope and healing. His hands were skilled, but it was his heart that truly defined him. He taught me the importance of empathy, emphasizing that every life mattered. My mother, Mary, was a gifted musician, her violin melodies weaving through our home like a gentle breeze. Her music filled our lives with joy and comfort, a soothing balm during difficult times. I would often sit by her side, captivated as she played, feeling the notes resonate deep within my soul. Together they created a nurturing environment, instilling in me the values of love, kindness, and resilience. One evening, as the sunset painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, I approached my father with a question that had been weighing on my heart. "Dad, what should I do if I want to help people as you do?" He looked at me thoughtfully and replied, "You don't have to be a doctor to help others, Rebecca. You can find your own way to make a difference." His words lingered in my mind, planting seeds of purpose that would guide me through the challenges ahead. In those early years, I felt enveloped in warmth and security, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing on the horizon. Little did I know that our tranquil life would soon be shattered, leading me down a path of unimaginable trials, including the terrifying reality of being sold to the highest bidder for my virginity and my organs. Yet, the lessons of love and compassion from my parents would become my guiding light in the darkest of times.
2. A Defining Moment.
As the months passed, whispers of unrest began to weave through our village like an unwelcome shadow. What had once been a serene landscape slowly transformed. The laughter of children was replaced by hushed conversations among adults. I often overheard snippets of worry at the market, discussions about political strife and ethnic tensions that seemed to grow with each passing day. The vibrant colours of our world began to dull, replaced by an air of uncertainty that made my heart ache. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of deep purple and gold, I sought solace in my father's study. He sat at his desk, papers scattered around him, his brow furrowed in thought. The weight of the world seemed to rest on his shoulders, and I could sense the tension radiating from him. I approached cautiously, feeling the gravity of the moment. "Dad," I said softly, "are we going to be okay?" He looked up, his eyes reflecting a mixture of concern and love. "Rebecca, times are changing, and not all change is good. But we must remain strong and united as a family." His voice was steady, yet I could hear the underlying worry. "You have a bright future ahead of you. Never lose sight of your dreams." I took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. "I want to help people just like you do. I want to make a difference." He leaned back in his chair, a faint smile breaking through his serious demeanor. "You can, my dear. Helping others comes in many forms. Whether it's through medicine, art, or simply being there for someone in need, your heart will guide you." His words struck a chord deep within me, resonating with a truth I hadn't fully understood until that moment. I felt a flicker of hope ignite within my heart, a seed of resilience planted in the soil of my dreams. But as I gazed out of the window, taking in the fading light, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. The distant sounds of sirens and shouting echoed through the valley, a haunting reminder of the tensions brewing just outside our peaceful bubble. I could sense that the world I cherished was on the brink of collapse, and the reality of our situation pressed heavily upon me. As the days turned into weeks, the atmosphere grew increasingly charged. The news from nearby cities became more alarming, filled with reports of violence, unrest, and the terrifying rise of organ trafficking. Our village, once a sanctuary, felt as if it were teetering on the edge of a precipice. One night, unable to sleep, I found myself wandering outside, gazing at the stars that twinkled above. I remembered my father's words, his unwavering belief in the power of kindness. I made a silent promise to myself. I would hold on to that belief, no matter what lay ahead. But as the moon cast a silvery glow over the land, I couldn't shake the growing sense of foreboding. I could feel the winds of change swirling around us, carrying with them the scent of fear and uncertainty. I knew that our idyllic life was slipping away, and I braced myself for the storm that was sure to come. In the days that followed, I clung to my father's wisdom like a lifeline, drawing strength from the love and guidance he had given me. I reminded myself that even in the darkest of times, there was a flicker of light to be found. But as the reality of war encroached upon our lives, I couldn't help but wonder if that light would be enough to guide me through the darkness that lay ahead.
3. Conflict and trauma.
The storm finally broke one fateful morning, shattering the fragile peace we had clung to for so long. I awoke to the distant sound of gunfire echoing through the valley, a chilling reminder that our world had changed irrevocably. The vibrant colours of my childhood seemed to fade as the reality of war descended upon us, darkening the skies and filling our hearts with dread. Panic swept through our village like wildfire. Families hurried to gather their belongings, fear etched on their faces. My parents moved swiftly, their voices urgent as they prepared us to flee. I watched, wide-eyed and terrified, as the life I knew unraveled before me. The laughter and warmth of our home were replaced with chaos and uncertainty. "Rebecca, we have to go!" my mother called, her voice cutting through the cacophony. I felt her grip on my hand tighten, her fear palpable. As we ran through the streets, I could see neighbours fleeing in every direction, the once familiar faces now twisted with anxiety. In the midst of the chaos, I was separated from my family. A surge of people pushed me away, and I stumbled, falling to the ground. I looked up to see my mother's silhouette disappearing into the crowd, panic rising in my chest. "Mom!" I screamed, but my voice was swallowed by the chaos around me. I was alone, lost in a sea of fear and confusion. As I wandered through the streets, the sounds of war grew louder. The cries for help, the distant explosions, and the relentless gunfire formed a terrifying symphony. I could feel my heart racing, each beat echoing the fear that gripped me. I sought refuge in an alley, hoping to find safety from the chaos outside, but safety eluded me. It was then that I was caught by soldiers. They emerged from the shadows, their faces hardened by the brutality of war. In that moment, I felt a wave of terror wash over me. I was no longer just a frightened girl. I was a target. The world around me blurred, and I fought to retain my sense of self as they grabbed me, their intentions clear. In the struggle, I felt a desperation like no other. The fear coursed through my veins as I fought against them, my heart pounding in my chest. I remembered my father's words about strength and resilience, but all I felt was the overwhelming urge to survive. I struggled, screaming for help, but my cries were drowned out by the violence that surrounded me. One soldier leaned in close, asking if I was a virgin. In that moment, I recalled my father's teachings about the importance of honesty and dignity. "Yes," I managed to say, the word escaping my lips as a desperate plea for mercy. Somehow, that simple truth saved me from a fate worse than I could comprehend. But the horror didn't end there. I was sold to the highest bidder. stripped of my identity and reduced to a commodity, my virginity and my organs sought after in a twisted market. Each day became a battle for survival as I grappled with the trauma of my experiences. The pain and fear I felt was suffocating, yet deep within me, I found a flicker of resilience. I began to understand the suffering of others, realizing that I was not alone in this nightmare. As I was passed from one captor to another, I bore witness to the suffering of countless victims. Each face told a story of pain, fear, and helplessness. In those moments, I felt an overwhelming sense of empathy, a connection to those who had endured the same horrors. My heart ached for them, and I vowed to find a way to help others escape this darkness. Days turned into weeks, and I clung to the remnants of my identity. I remembered the love of my parents, the warmth of our home, and the dreams I once held dear. Those memories became my lifeline, a reminder of the resilience that lay within me. I began to envision a future beyond the trauma. A future where I could help others heal. The day finally came when I saw an opportunity to escape. The chaos within the hideout erupted as my captors fought amongst themselves. Seizing the moment, I slipped away unnoticed, my heart pounding with hope and fear. I ran through the darkened streets, each step a testament to my determination to reclaim my life. As I fled, I could still hear the echoes of my father's voice in my mind, urging me to hold on to my dreams. I knew that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but I was ready to face them. I was no longer just a victim. I was a survivor, and I would emerge from this darkness stronger than ever. But even as I tasted the sweet air of freedom, I carried the weight of my experiences with me. The shadows of my past lingered, a constant reminder of the trauma I had endured. Yet I had discovered something powerful within myself, the ability to rise above the darkness and become a voice for those who had been silenced. In the depths of despair, I found my purpose. I would not let my story end here. I would turn my pain into strength and shine a light on the horrors of human trafficking and organ trade. And with that determination, I set forth on a new journey, one filled with hope, healing, and the promise of a brighter future.
4. Harrowing experience.
The taste of freedom was bittersweet. Though I had escaped the terror of captivity, I was haunted by the memories of my ordeal. Every sound, every shadow seemed to trigger a wave of panic within me. The world outside felt foreign, and I found myself constantly looking over my shoulder, expecting to be dragged back into the nightmare I had just fled. After days of wandering, I finally reached a small town. My clothes were tattered and my body bore the marks of my struggle. I felt invisible. A ghost haunting the streets of a place that should have felt like home. Yet I was determined to survive. I sought help, but the memories of my captivity weighed heavily on my heart, making it difficult to trust anyone. As I navigated my new reality, I encountered others who had suffered similar fates. In a small shelter, I met women who, like me, had been torn from their families and subjected to unimaginable horrors, including the brutal reality of being sold for virginity and organs. Their stories mirrored my own, each tale a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. I listened as they recounted their experiences, and with every shared story, I felt a profound sense of connection and understanding. Their pain resonated with my own, and I realized that I was not alone in this struggle. In those moments of shared grief, I began to confront my own trauma. The memories of being captured, the fear of being sold, and the sense of helplessness flooded my mind. I had fought fiercely to maintain my dignity, but the scars ran deep. I struggled to reconcile my past with the person I wanted to become. It was as if I was standing at the edge of a precipice, torn between the darkness of my memories and the hope of a brighter future. One night, as I lay awake, I was overwhelmed by a wave of emotion. The realization of what I had endured crashed over me like a tidal wave. I felt anger, sadness, and an unbearable sense of loss. I mourned not only the innocence of my childhood, but also the dreams that had been shattered. In that moment, I understood the true nature of trauma. It was a silent thief that robbed me of my joy and left me feeling adrift. In the shelter, I found a community of survivors who were also seeking to reclaim their lives. Together, we formed a bond that transcended our individual experiences. We shared our stories, our hopes, and our dreams, supporting one another in our healing journeys. I realized that by speaking out, we could shine a light on the injustices we had faced and inspire others to take action. As the days turned into weeks, I began to participate in workshops and support groups. I learned about the psychological impact of trauma and the importance of healing. With each session, I felt a little more whole, a little more empowered. I learned to share my story not just as a victim, but as a survivor, a voice for those who could not speak for themselves. Yet, even as I embraced my role as an advocate, the shadows of my past lingered. There were nights when nightmares would haunt my dreams, pulling me back into the depths of despair. I would wake up in a cold sweat, heart racing, the echoes of my trauma still fresh in my mind. But each time I faced those fears, I became stronger. I learned to confront my pain rather than hide from it, allowing myself to grieve and heal.
5. Healing and transformation.
As I continued to advocate for change, I found myself growing stronger. The very act of speaking out transformed my trauma into a weapon against injustice. I realized that my experience, once a source of shame, had become a powerful tool for advocacy. I began to understand the importance of using my voice to educate others about the realities of human trafficking and organ trade, to shed light on the dark corners of society that often remain hidden. In this journey of healing and empowerment, I discovered the true meaning of resilience. I learned that while the scars of my past would always be a part of my journey, they did not define who I was. I was no longer just a survivor. I was a beacon of hope for others. With every step I took, I moved further away from the darkness and closer to the light, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, armed with the strength of my story. I immersed myself in the world of advocacy, attending workshops and seminars that focused on raising awareness about human trafficking and the organ trade. I learned about the laws and regulations that existed, the gaps that needed to be filled, and the importance of community support. Each session reinforced my belief that change was not only necessary, but also possible. As I connected with other survivors, I found that sharing our experiences was not just cathartic, it was transformative. I often spoke with young women who had been through similar horrors, who had been sold for their virginity or organs. Each story added layers to my understanding of trauma and resilience. During these conversations, I realized that while our pasts were marked by pain, our futures could be defined by strength and solidarity. One day, I was invited to speak at a national conference dedicated to combating human trafficking. As I prepared for my speech, I felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. This was an opportunity to amplify not only my voice, but the voices of countless others who had been silenced. I wanted to share the truth of our experiences, to make it clear that we were not just victims, we were survivors and fighters. Standing on that stage, I looked out at the audience and saw a sea of faces, some sympathetic, some curious, and some determined. I took a deep breath and began. Good afternoon. My name is Rebecca, and I am here to share my story, not just of survival, but of resilience and hope. I was sold to the highest bidder for my virginity and my organs, but I stand before you today as a survivor. I am not defined by what happened to me. I am defined by how I choose to fight back. As I spoke, the room fell silent, the weight of my words sinking in. I shared the details of my captivity, the fear and despair I felt, and the moment I realized that I had to escape. I spoke of the darkness that had threatened to consume me and how I had found the strength to reclaim my life. When I finished, I was met with a standing ovation. The applause echoed in my ears, but it was the tears in the eyes of the audience that truly struck me. In that moment, I knew that I had made an impact. I was not just speaking for myself. I was speaking for all the survivors who had come before me and those who would follow.
6. Return home.
After the conference, I returned home with a renewed sense of purpose. I felt that I had taken significant steps toward healing, not only for myself but for others. Yet the shadows of my past still lingered. As I stepped off the bus back into my village, the familiar scent of damp earth and wildflowers washed over me, mingling with the bitter tang of smoke still lingering in the air. This was my homeland, the place where I had once played in sunlit fields, lulled by the gentle melodies of my mother's violin. But now the village stood shrouded in a heavy silence, a ghost of its former self, marked by the scars of war. The streets were eerily quiet. Where children had once laughed and chased each other, there were only shadows. I walked hesitantly, my heart pounding with each step. The houses, once vibrant with life, appeared weathered and broken. Bullet holes and shattered windows told stories of chaos and despair, and I could feel the weight of history pressing down on me. I spotted the old tree where I had climbed countless times, its branches now bare and skeletal. My childhood home was only a few blocks away, and I felt a mix of excitement and dread. What awaited me inside those walls? Would my parents still be the same? As I approached, I noticed the door slightly ajar, just as I had left it years ago. I pushed it open and stepped inside. The familiar warmth of home enveloped me, but it was tinged with an unmistakable sorrow. My mother's violin lay untouched in the corner, gathering dust. I could almost hear the echoes of her music, but the silence felt deafening. "Rebecca?" I heard my mother's voice, trembling and hesitant. I turned to see her standing in the doorway, her face a canvas of worry and relief. We rushed to each other, tears streaming down our faces as we embraced. In that moment, I felt the safety of her love, but the weight of everything I had endured crashed over me like a tidal wave. "Where's Dad?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "He's out helping the community," she replied, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "He's been working tirelessly to support those who suffered." My heart swelled with pride and pain. Dad was always there to help, but I could see the toll it had taken on him. As I settled back into my old room, memories flooded my mind. Happy times intermingled with the haunting images of the past. I tried to push them away, but they lingered. Days passed, and life resumed a semblance of normalcy, but the shadows of war loomed large. The scars on the village mirrored my own. I was soon approached by a local official who asked me to testify about my experiences. The thought of recounting my trauma caused my stomach to twist in knots. Could I relive that darkness? As I sat in the small, stark room where the hearing would take place, I felt the weight of my past pressing down on me. The officials were kind but distant, their faces a blur as I struggled to find my voice. I shared what I could, each word a painful reminder of the horrors I had endured, including the reality of being sold for my virginity and my organs. I wanted to help, to be a voice for those who couldn't speak, yet the fear gripped me tightly. After the hearing, an officer approached me. He had been present during my testimony, and I recognized the kindness in his eyes. "Can I give you a hug?" he asked gently, his voice soft and reassuring. A surge of panic washed over me. The question caught me off guard, igniting memories I had tried so hard to bury. My instinct was to recoil. "Don't touch me," I said, the words escaping before I could stop them.
7. New beginnings.
As the days turned into weeks, I found myself encountering Officer Daniel more frequently. Initially, he had been a figure of authority, a man in uniform who had stirred fear within me during my testimony. But as I began to heal, I realized there was more to him than the badge he wore. Each time we crossed paths, I felt an unexpected flutter in my chest, a mix of curiosity and apprehension. One afternoon, while working late at the counselling centre, I saw him helping with a community event focused on raising awareness about human trafficking. His dedication to the cause was evident. He spoke passionately about the importance of supporting survivors. I watched him interact with the crowd, his warmth shining through, and I felt a stirring of admiration. Later, as the event wrapped up, he approached me. "Rebecca," he said softly, "I wanted to thank you for sharing your story. It takes a lot of courage to speak out." I hesitated, still grappling with my emotions. "Thank you, Officer Daniel. It's something I feel strongly about." His expression softened, and I saw a flicker of understanding in his eyes. "Please, call me Daniel. I know we didn't start off on the best foot, but I admire your resilience." His words caught me off guard. I had spent so long viewing authority figures through a lens of fear that I hadn't considered the possibility of connection. "I appreciate that," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. From that day on, our interactions evolved. Daniel began visiting the counselling centre more often, offering support and resources for clients. Gradually, I found myself looking forward to his visits. There was an ease in our conversations, a shared mission that bound us together. We both wanted to make a difference, to help those who had suffered as we had. One evening, after a long day of meetings and workshops, we sat on a park bench, the sun setting behind us. "What drives you to keep fighting this fight?" I asked, genuinely curious. Daniel took a moment, his gaze distant as he reflected. "I've seen the impact of trauma firsthand, and it breaks my heart. I want to ensure that no one feels alone in their struggles, just like I once did. I want to be better than the system I'm part of." His honesty resonated deeply within me. I feel the same way. Each survivor's story deserves to be heard, and I want to help amplify those voices. As we talked, I felt the walls I had built around my heart begin to crumble. The fear that once defined my perception of him melted away, replaced by a growing trust. I realized that this man who had once instilled terror within me was now a source of support, a partner in our shared mission. Over time, our relationship deepened. We collaborated on community initiatives, organizing workshops to educate others about human trafficking and the importance of advocacy. We shared our experiences publicly, using our voices to inspire change and raise awareness. Together, we created a platform for survivors, inviting them to share their stories in a safe and supportive environment. One evening, as we wrapped up a particularly successful event, I turned to Daniel, feeling a surge of gratitude. "I couldn't have done this without you. You've become such an important part of my life." He looked at me, his eyes searching mine. "And you've become an important part of mine, Rebecca. I never expected to find such a connection in this line of work." In that moment, I realized how far I had come. The darkness of my past no longer held me captive. Instead, it had paved the way for new beginnings. I felt a sense of hope blossoming within me, fueled by the love and support I had found in Daniel. As we walked home under the starlit sky, I reflected on my journey. I had embraced my past, learned from it, and transformed my pain into purpose. The power of love and resilience had illuminated my path, guiding me toward a brighter future. In the years that followed, Daniel and I built a beautiful life together, marrying and welcoming 3 wonderful children. Their journey of healing and connection had blossomed into a loving family, proving that even in the darkest times, hope can lead to a vibrant future.
Thank you for watching. Please give us like, share, comment, and subscribe for more useful videos. Bye. Thank you for watching. Please give us like, share, comment, and subscribe for more useful videos. Bye.